I think it's so important that we have this human experience here, that we be humans, that we fuck up, that we make mistakes, that we get injured, that we get hurt, that we allow our body to have these very human experiences that it has. And I think it's equally as important that we don't just live a human 3D experience. I think it's equally as important that we seek spiritual enlightenment and expansion, that we're constantly going after expanded spiritual growth, that destination that is ascension or enlightenment actually never ends, that we just continue down on that path and on that journey.
This is Leah Steele. Welcome to the Wealth Witch podcast. Just a few years ago, I experienced complete financial collapse. We lost a business, our home, and a car. My husband was selling plasma to pay for diapers and formula. I was living a life I hated, and I was miserable. It was the lowest part of my life. It ended up being my biggest blessing. Just a few short years later, I've designed the life of my dreams. I live a life of luxury in beautiful Bali, Indonesia, travel the world, and spend my days helping others manifest wealth and abundance. Living a purpose-led life changed everything for me. This podcast is about my journey, my top tips and tools for manifestation, and interviews with all the amazing, world-changing, inspiring people I meet along the way. Welcome to my world.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of the Wealth Witch podcast. I am your host, Leah Steele, podcasting from my bed. My back has been out since Sunday, and it was time to record a podcast episode, and I was like, what am I going to record about? I feel quite shit. I don't feel like recording. I would like to kind of just fuck it off, but I also really want to make sure that we're being consistent in getting these shows out to you guys. And so I've been in a little bit of an internal war that's been happening over the last several days, which is like my mind really wants to go, go, go. And then I'm dealing with this excruciating pain and I'm basically bedridden. So I thought, this is the topic. This is actually what I need to get on and do the show about. Because to be honest, like I'm not really a fan of balance. I work really hard to make sure that the projector in me gets nurtured. And so I do engage in a lot of self-care. And I discharge my sacral energy and I, make sure that I'm eating the right foods that are going to support me and I'm getting enough sleep and I'm doing exercise. I'm really great about nurturing my physical vessel. But I also push myself really, really hard. So whether that's in the gym or at Pilates or it's simply just in work, I love what I do. I literally would work every hour and every minute of every day if I could. And so sometimes I push myself too far and sometimes I exhaust myself. And I just am a person that lives in those types of extremes. And so for me, when people would be like, you need to find balance in your life, it was always something I rejected. I was always like, fuck balance. I'm not really interested in balance. You can't be excellent when you're constantly worried about balance, was sort of my mantra and my way of behaving. And at some level, I think I'm still like that to some degree. I don't believe that we get anywhere by only focusing on maintaining that perfect balance. I mean, what even is that? What does that even mean? What is balance? What is balanced? Who decides? We're all individuals. We are individual people living an individual experience on this planet. And so what's balanced for me is not going to be balanced for the next person. And so at some level, I think it's a bunch of bullshit, really. I think that it's important to care for yourself. All 5 of your bodies, your physical body, your mental body, your spiritual body, your emotional body, your energetic body. And I feel like it's important to focus on the areas where you feel you are not as strong. And so for me, is that balance? I don't know if it's balance, but if I'm really suffering in one of my 5 bodies, whether it's physical or mental or spiritual, I'm going to put some more focus there. But what does that mean? I put more focus in one area and it gets taken away from another, right? So I don't believe that achieving balance is actually even possible. I don't even really know what balance means, quite frankly. And I don't really know that anyone knows what balance means. It seems like it's this word we kind of just throw around to, at some level, it's spiritual dogma, I feel like. And it is like the shaming of like, oh, if you're not in balance, then you must not be doing it right. And if you're not resting enough, or you're not meditating enough, or you're not doing enough yoga, you must not be in balance. And so, now I can get on my spiritual high horse and let all of my self-righteousness come out and judge the fuck out of you because you're not doing the thing that I'm definitely not doing, right? So we are human beings. We are divine immortal souls housed in a very physical 3D human body. And the thing that I know about being human beings and about these physical bodies is that somebody is always in the lead. So one of those 5 bodies I just mentioned, it's always in the lead. They're not all equally leading. You would never get anywhere. So one of those bodies is always in the lead. And so we're always neglecting one or more of our bodies. And then when, I think how we find good balance, if that's the word, is by identifying when we're weaker in a certain body and then putting more focus on it. But I do think that we get really wrapped up in this idea of spiritual dogma. And I think spiritual people are some of the most bypassing, judgmental, stone throwers there are out there. I mean, I think we've seen it time after time after time after time. How many religious wars have there been, for Christ's sakes? For Christ's sakes, yes, I did just say that. But seriously, like, what if we allowed each person to live their individual life experience? And instead of being judgmental, and instead of telling people what they should or shouldn't do, instead of making people feel bad about how they're choosing to live their life, we maybe just got to this place where we began to encourage each other. And we also, instead of focusing so outward on what our neighbor's doing, on what our best friend's doing, on what our husband's doing, on what our children are doing, we started focusing more on, where am I out of alignment? And then focusing on that area to get it back into alignment, recognizing and realizing that by the time that thing's back in alignment, something else is sure to be out of alignment. This is our human experience on this planet. This is why we're here. We're not here to come and be perfect beings. That's not the point. We didn't come to planet Earth for that. Have you seen this planet? Have you looked in your Facebook feed lately? Have you opened a newspaper or turned on a news station? Like, we are imperfect beings living an imperfect existence. We're here to learn. We're here to grow. We're here to expand. And we don't do that by judging ourselves. We don't do that by trying to be the perfect representation of some ideal that somebody made up. So let yourself off the hook. That's definitely what I'm doing. And I think, for me, I got really down on myself when this happened, when my back went out, because I was like, I've been doing all the things. I've literally been doing all the things. I've been resting. I've been going to Pilates. I've been going to the gym. I've been eating the right foods, like everything I'm supposed to be doing. I've been meditating. I've been doing everything. And then I get so frustrated because I immediately go to this place where I'm like, I must not be doing something right. I must be out of alignment somewhere spiritually. Maybe someone's psychically attacking me. Maybe something's going on over here. And instead of just being like, wow, you know what? Sometimes you can do everything right. And the human body just needs to be human. Sometimes something tweaks. Sometimes a muscle gets pulled. Sometimes we get fatigued. And we might be doing everything else right. We get to be human. We get to stop holding ourselves to these impossible standards. And I'm the worst at this. Like, I want to always be the person who's being consistent and showing up for my audience. I want to always be the person who is, giving more value than everyone else. I want to be doing all the things, spending time with friends, spending time with family, making sure I'm getting my live streams done, making sure I'm in my paid programs. And as a result, I take on a lot, and I carry a lot, and I hold a lot, and I thrive in that place. And sometimes my body's like, yeah, fuck you. Now we're going to crash, and we're going to force you flat on your back for 3 days where you're not going to be able to do anything else except listen to your body and slow down. It's been this way my whole entire life since I was a little girl. I would go, 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 go until I got sick. And then I would be down for 2 or 3 days. And then I would be back up, go, 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 going again. So I guess what I'm saying is we can be in a place of judging ourselves for our perceived flaws, or which are really truly just projections of other people's perceptions of what they believe perfection is. And that doesn't need to affect you in your reality. Show up every day. Be the best you that you can be. Do whatever's next, whatever that next right thing is that's in front of you, do that thing. Love the people in your life. Be compassionate towards the people that you sometimes feel judgment for. And just show up as the best version of you every single day. If you're doing that, it really doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. It really doesn't even matter if it doesn't even really matter what you think. I mean, this is the thing where it gets so tricky because our monkey mind can come in and be the most judgmental of all the judgmental people, right? We judge ourselves so much harsher than we ever would anyone else. And so for me, this is a place that I really have to get to frequently where my mind is judging my behaviors and my actions, and my soul and my physical body have to just say, you know what, we're doing the best that we can. We're showing up every day. We're doing all the things. We don't need to meet your impossible ideal egoic mind that wants us to be this superstar entrepreneur, the best of the best. Sometimes we get to just be a woman with back pain that is living a very, very 3D existence right now. I hadn't showered for like 2 days. I was finally able to shower yesterday, and now I'm walking around a little bit. And I'm here recording this podcast because I love it. And it's a lot easier to record the podcast laying flat on my back in bed than it is to do any of the other work that I have to do. But for me, this is just a reminder that you are perfect in all of your imperfections, and other people's perceptions of who you are and who you should be don't matter. And when your monkey mind starts in with those high ideals that it's setting for you and its request for perfection, sometimes you need to change your state. Sometimes you need to pattern interrupt so you can detach from that and show up and just be the best you that you can be. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're here for, why we're here on planet Earth. You've heard me talk a lot about that we are a divine immortal soul living in a physical vessel. I don't believe that we are here to only explore one or the other of those. I don't believe that we're here to just be on a spiritual journey and to expand our consciousness and reach enlightenment only. And I also don't believe that we're here to just fully embrace this human experience and, learn how to master our physical vessels and our physical forms, or to just learn these very 3D lessons that we're learning here on this planet. I don't believe that those things are separate. I actually believe that what we are here for is to fully realize our divinity and fully realize our physicality, our humanity at the same time. And so I think that it is an embracing of both of those things. And it's why you hear me talk about saying the things like, you can be spiritual and have a glass of wine. You can be spiritual and eat steak. There is no either or. We're not here to only be enlightened beings. We are here to realize our full divinity and our full humanity at the same time. So this was called Hippostatic Union. And this was, what they believe that Christ had achieved. And so for me, my personal feelings about Christ was that he was this amazing, most likely prophetic man that lived on this planet, and that he had achieved hypostatic union. So he had achieved the full realization of his divinity and the full realization of his humanity at the same time. And it was through that self-mastery of achieving hypostatic union that he was able to master his physical vessel to the point that he was able to do things like walk on water. So, for some of you, this may be an unpopular belief. For some of you, you might be like, oh my God, she's crazy. She's up in the night. But I do truly believe that as human beings, we have the ability to achieve things that most of us do not right now, because we are not on a journey seeking this union. We are not on a journey seeking to fully embody and realize our divinity and our humanity at the same time. And so as a result, we actually have no idea what this beautiful combination of divine soul and physical vessel can do. And, we have evidence of these things happening in the past. We have evidence of people living much, much longer than our current life expectancies. We have evidence of people doing miraculous things with their physical vessels. I would argue that every single being on this planet has the ability to achieve those things. Every single being on this planet has the ability to achieve longevity and extended life expectancy if they desire it and if they choose to invest in the self-mastery that is required to achieve those things. And it's not just about nurturing the physical vessel, and it's not just about nurturing the spiritual vessel. It's about doing both at the same time. I think it's so important that we have this human experience here, that we be humans, that we fuck up, that we make mistakes, that we get injured, that we get hurt, that we allow our body to have these very human experiences that it has. And I think it's equally as important that we don't just live a human 3D experience. I think it's equally as important that we seek spiritual enlightenment and expansion, that we're constantly going after expanded spiritual growth, that destination that is ascension or enlightenment actually never ends, that we just continue down on that path and on that journey. But I would almost say the same for the people that are only doing that. And that is their, that's all that they're doing is focusing on spiritual enlightenment and focusing on that path of ascension. And they're not actually enjoying this beautiful life that we have the opportunity to live. They're not actually enjoying their physical vessel. They're not actually bumping into walls and making mistakes with this physical vessel and experiencing this beautiful gift that is humanity that we've been given. So I'm someone that tends to live primarily in my upper chakras. And so I operate from 5, 6, 7 most of the time, and then the transpersonal chakras. And my whole life, really, I've had a bit of this resentment of my physical body. I'm like, I have these feelings sometimes where it's just like, oh, I'm so done here. Can I just go home? Like, that's what it feels like. I'm just done here on planet Earth. I'm over this experience. Like, why did I choose this? Can I go home? Not quite sure where home is, but that is the feeling that I have a lot. And especially when I feel like my physical body is failing me, I will have these thoughts and these feelings. And it's almost this resentment of my humanity. Like, why do I have to eat food? Why do I have to breathe? That's so boring. Why do we have to go to the bathroom? Like, it seems like such a waste of time. Like, I literally have these thoughts because I'm like, I would just prefer to stay engaged in some kind of spiritual expansion or journey, or the education part of self-mastery. The practical application is the part that I get frustrated with, because I get frustrated with the slowness of the human body. But it's also why I'm fascinated with this topic of self-mastery and life extension protocol and longevity, because I believe that at some level we have trapped ourselves through programming and dogma in an inferior physical vessel, but we've done it to ourselves. And so I'm now fascinated with this journey of self-mastery and figuring out how to extend these things and how to fully embrace that humanity so that we can get back to the place of more beings on this planet experiencing Hippostatic Union, more beings fully realizing their divinity and their humanity at the same time. Because that inferior physical vessel that we have created for ourselves through programming and dogma, and then, the programming and dogma of the global financial elite who control everything, including our food supply, right? And so it serves the program for us to work ourselves to death while we're able, and then die an earlier death so that we don't need to be taken care of by the system. That completely serves the global financial agenda. So as a result, we have been programmed and conditioned to believe that we only live a certain time, and that once we turn a certain age, we hit midlife, you're now moving into the second part of your life, and then you need to get to retirement, and then you don't have much longer after retirement. So enjoy yourself and make sure you're spending your money that you've saved while you're in your retirement, and then you're going to die, basically, in your 80s. What? That's insane. Like, with the technology that we have right now, I'm not even talking about what will come to be over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. With the technology that we have right now, human beings can live much, much longer than what they're living. But we have a belief that we die at a certain age. We have a belief that our cells begin to degenerate and then they stop regenerating as quickly. We have a belief that we are more susceptible to certain diseases and illnesses, so we get them. We have a belief that our hair starts to turn white and we start to get wrinkly. Once we hit that midpoint in life, it's all downhill from there. And that midpoint right now is like 40 or 45 years old. I think this is asinine. I was sitting around with a bunch of my girlfriends the other day, and we were talking. Some of my friends that are in their late 40s are still really wanting to have babies. And we were talking about how that just to so many people is so unacceptable. And they just cannot believe that a woman in her 40s, period, but in her late 40s would consider having a baby. And I was laughing because I was like, here's the thing. I guarantee you that the majority of people on this planet are going to be living past 100, period. Like there's too much advancement right now for us not to. And I think those of us that are on this spiritual path and we're on this path to enlightenment, we're already caring for our physical vessels in different ways. And we're not eating, the GMOs, and we're not consuming all the geophosphate and all of that. Those of us that are already on that path, I think, have ability at this point with no more technology to be living to 150, 175. And so I was like, in the scheme of things, you're 20. You're still 20. If you're in your late 40s, you're still in your 20s. So have as many babies as you want, right? You have so much more life ahead of you. So I really encourage you to, I guess from this podcast, it seems like it sort of went all over the place, but I guess the takeaway that I would love for you to take away from this is, again, it's this piece about limitations. How are you allowing limitations to be put on yourself? The other takeaway would be embrace your imperfections, embrace your humanity. While you're on that spiritual journey, make sure that you're enjoying this human life and you're learning from it. And if you want to come on a journey of self-mastery with me and learn more about how to extend our life protocol and all of this amazing stuff, like definitely hit me up, because I've got some amazing programs that we've launched and that we will be continuing to launch over the next year that really focus on this. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see as a collective where we have the ability to go when we begin to let go of all of this programming and conditioning that we've been carrying. And so that's it. That's all I have for today. Thank you for joining me. And that's it. Until next time, this is the Wealth Witch signing off.
That's a wrap. Thank you for joining me. Remember, wealth is a mindset, and you absolutely deserve to live the life you deeply desire. And with belief and intention, you create your reality. Until next time, this is Leah Steele, the Wealth Witch.